work over this entire week are going to be out or not with me. You're gonna, after patterning this, you're taking your old panels, your fisheye drape, and you're gonna do a whole nother project with it. So, start by pinning it just like we normally do, center front and shoulder area, but here's where it's a little bit different. Because we have to change where we're focusing the volume, we are going to pin the center front and smooth down the shoulder, but we have to create a new location for this side bust volume. So you want to realign your side seam, waist notch, and make sure the side seam is smooth. All the way up to the top of your underarm, because we're not having a dart there anymore. We're bringing this up into the Armscye position, which probably would have helped if I started with that. Everybody knows what the Armscye princess is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have two different types of princess. Armscye is a little more classic, refined looking. The shoulder princess is more sporty, more casual. Normally, if you were doing this drape, the princess Armscye, either one, you would have 4 muslin panels that you would start with to drape. We are using the foundation of this fisheye to get our Armscye, just one, to save muslin fabric, save money too, but it's already the foundation for this shape, okay? And so it's gonna be a tiny bit harder, but nothing that you guys can't do, okay? So to get this dart that would normally be right here, to reposition it into the armhole, same idea as in pattern making, you're pivoting your darts from this over to armhole. But we want a curved shape to it. So it's going to fight you a tiny bit, and this is where it's a little bit difficult. You have to maneuver the fabric and pin it. So I'm making sure the whole side seam is smooth up into underneath the arm, so that forces all of my volume up into this area. Usually the position where this hits, the Armscye princess hits, is around that midway point where your cross mark is on your form. You can go a little bit up or down from that if you want to. The main point is to make the front and back, or the front and back, equal or even. So if you go a little bit above it, go a little bit above it in the back. It's, again, aesthetics, pleasing to the eye when somebody's looking at it from the side. It looks intentional, you thought about it. So once you get your volume stuck in this area, I smoothed my shoulder area over, smoothed up my side seam. Now my volume is stuck in this area where I want it. I already made my fisheye dart. It's here. I don't necessarily need to repin it, but if I wanted to change the position of it, I could. Let's say I don't want my fisheye right here. I want it to come over here more towards the princess. It would be easier if you did that because of the apex and the position of this. So know that that is an option. You can move this over. Just use a different colored pencil so you know this drape is purple or green or whatever you want. So once you get this decided, same rules apply to this. All you need is this shape or this pin, vanishing point, vanishing point. This gets drawn, this point gets extended all the way down, parallel with straight grain. That's your sew line, your seam. It's just a line right down from the dart. This is going to be formed into a dart that points towards your vanishing point of your fisheye. So essentially we're getting rid of this little sandwiched area and this sandwiched area, and we now have a full seam here, right? You're gonna have one piece for center front that's all the way up here and down, a side front, a side back, and a center back. So what I'm saying is that might be a little difficult is the maneuvering or the manipulating of the fabric to get into a pretty curve. It wants to just do a straight shot from here to the apex, but to get it to be a little more curved, you might need to fuss with it a tiny bit. And everybody's curve is gonna look a little bit different. It's totally fine. But just get it to be as smooth and organic as possible. You can reshape it a little bit during the truing, but remember that whatever space you displace on one side, you have to add or subtract it to the other side. You can't just change one line and not give the other side what you took away or added, right? So this is why it's not best for doing the straight angle of a dart and then fixing it on paper. It's a lot of math you have to do. Trying to get as close to it as possible in the fabric, okay? So that's basically it. Does everybody understand that that's gonna be a seam now? All this sandwiched material goes away and you're gonna pattern this. It's gonna be 4 pieces and I'll get seam allowance after.
And the seam goes straight through the apex, right?
Yes, yep. You travel right down the apex from the armhole through the apex and down that princess area. I would actually suggest you position your fisheye dart over the princess if you haven't already. It's going to make it a lot easier for those 2 darts to match up. The back is simple. The same idea. Capture all of your volume right here. Smooth down your shoulder, smooth up your side seam, and make sure you catch all of your volume right here to connect to this fisheye. Same thing, take this all the way down. Just draw a line all the way down. And then you don't have to cut these apart. You can just lay it on the patterning paper, trace them off first. If you cut them apart first, it's less stable. You want to keep them together while you trace them off. The other thing is rounding off these angular areas. When you trace this off, it's going to be like this in the natural waist, a little bit like that angular. You can soften it up just by taking your French curve or hip curve and just soften a little bit. Make sure you transfer all your notches to tell yourself exactly where it's supposed to sew together at the natural waist and stuff like that. You're gonna have ease between the bust, or above and below the bust. You did this last semester, so I'm hoping that you can still remember a little bit. This is sort of a leap though, because we're not doing any of this work together. I'm just like, I hope you remember type of thing, right? So, well, questions? What do you think? Is that doable?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's drape. Yeah, go ahead.
Are we patterning 4 pieces or 2 pieces?
You're gonna have at least 4 pieces of this.
So when we're tracing on the pattern, like, since we're not cutting it, we're just tracing one section and then moving on to the other section.
Right. You would need to place your drape on one side, one section of the pattern paper, trace it off, then move it over to have enough room for seam allowance. But, so the end goal, if you want to have a full pattern, by all means go for it. It would mean one full front pattern, and then you have 6 other, 7 patterns total. Don't finish any of the neck or the armhole or the hem. We're gonna do other things with that. So pattern it and then cut out new muslin to sew it up. This is the other part of it. You're constructing this. I want to see what it looks like after.
Are we constructing the one we're gonna make over the weekend, or the one that we just did?
You're only constructing the princess Armscye because we're ruining your, well, you have the pattern, I guess. So no need to construct that. Although it would be good practice for fisheye dart. We could do that practice later if you guys feel like that would be good exercise. Or maybe we'll put darts into something else instead of going backwards, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So any other questions you guys can think of?
So when we meet next time in class, it should be sewn up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sewn up, and you can hand baste the seams if you want. It's not going to be a lot of work. I'm still deciding on the zipper, so I'm going to send out an email tonight whether it needs to have a zipper or not, and whether that's going to get in the way of the next project.
When you were talking about not doing the armhole, should it be trued and then we make it?
Yes.
Okay.
So the whole reason I wanted to get this in before talking about this is because you're going to be doing all of these processes and steps to this. You need to make sure that you have the same length shoulder seam, check the armholes together, and walk the seams that sew together, walk them down each other to ensure they're the same length. This is what you need to be doing for every pattern that you make. Every drape that you're putting into patterning paper, you're making it into a legitimate thing that can sew together well. So don't cut any corners. You're doing all these steps to it, but you have an entire week, so this is why it's going to be okay, right?